This is what happened when the world's dominant leader in mobile technology ignored a software revolution to protect its internal illusions. If we look back at old photographs of neon-lit Helsinki streets in November 2007, we see almost everyone tapping on physical keypads, holding a device from a brand that possessed over 40% of the global market. That same month, a major business magazine published a cover story asking if anyone could catch the cellular king. Yet, in September 2013, the chief executive stood before a silent press room to announce the sale of their mobile hardware business to Microsoft. This swift transition shocked the global community, leaving thousands of workers weeping outside their factories as a national symbol dissolved. The roots of this technological empire lay in the muddy banks of the Nokian River. Way back in March 1865, a mining engineer named Frederick Idestam established a modest wood pulp mill to manufacture paper. Decades of steady expansion followed, leading to a merger with industrial manufacturers of heavy rubber boots and electrical cables. But the major transformation began under Jorma Ollila, who took the corporate helm in 1992 and initiated a high-stakes strategic gamble. He ordered the immediate sale of all traditional rubber and paper assets, focusing every resource on the emerging global system for mobile communications. This pivot represented an extraordinary risk for a country recovering from a severe economic depression, which meant that the entire nation held its breath as the young electronics division began exporting its first digital handsets. That focus paid off handsomely by 1998, when the Finnish upstart officially surpassed Motorola to become the best-selling mobile brand worldwide. Consumers everywhere became obsessed with their devices, particularly the famed Model 3310, which launched in September 2000. That blue plastic handset sold over 126 million units globally, achieving iconic status for its durable construction and a simple, strongly addictive pixelated game called Snake. People did not just purchase a tool. They integrated these devices into their daily identities, customizing them with colorful, swappable plastic covers. The business grew so rapidly that its annual revenue soon surpassed the entire national budget of Finland, transforming the country into a global technology superpower. But this hardware dominance created a dangerous sense of invulnerability inside the glass offices in Espoo, Finland. Executives viewed their physical manufacturing capabilities as their primary defense, believing no competitor could match their broad global supply chain. This physical-first mindset meant they treated software as a minor utility, designed merely to make the physical buttons function. Their primary operating system, Symbian, operated reasonably well on basic keypads, but its internal structure resembled an extraordinarily messy, tangled web of code. Developers struggled to write thousands of lines of instructions just to change a basic screen transition, which meant that adapting to new technologies remained painfully slow. The industry shifted on January 9, 2007, when Steve Jobs stood on a stage in California and slid a finger across a smooth glass screen. The presentation of the initial iPhone revealed a device that replaced physical buttons with a powerful operating system built on Unix architecture. Nokia executives watched the broadcast, but their initial response combined public dismissal with private anxiety. They quickly realized that upgrading their current software platform to support capacitive touch felt equivalent to trying to mount high-velocity rocket engines onto a wooden wagon. The result was a series of slow, frustrating devices that required a stylus and constant screen calibration, which alienated millions of loyal customers who wanted a modern user experience. This technical challenge quickly ran into a brick wall because of a toxic internal environment. A landmark academic study by researchers Kui Hui and Timo Vuori later uncovered that a pervasive culture of fear paralyzed the organization during these critical months. Chief Executive Olli-Pekka Kallasvuo, who assumed control in 2006, possessed a fierce temper, frequently shouting at directors who presented negative reports. Because of this administrative dread, managers feared telling the truth, realizing that exposing software delays would likely end their careers. They chose to hide the reality of their struggling Symbian operating system, presenting polished slideshows that painted a completely false picture of their technological readiness. This corporate silencing meant that the top executives remained completely blind to the reality that their software development was lagging years behind. As competitors accelerated at high speed, the Finnish giant remained trapped in a cycle of false promises and obsolete technology. Middle managers routinely deleted warning signs from spreadsheets, assuring the board that their next-generation operating system, MeeGo, would easily match the capabilities of Apple's iOS. But behind the scenes, the coding teams were drowning in administrative confusion, struggling to make even basic calls function on the new platform. This internal disconnect persisted for years, which meant that every strategic decision rested on pure fiction rather than market reality. Desperate to halt the bleeding, the board appointed Stephen Elop as chief executive in September 2010. He immediately recognized the scale of the disaster, issuing a famous internal memo in February 2011 that described the company as standing on a burning North Sea oil platform. The message declared that they were surrounded by a blazing fire, forcing them to make a terrifying leap into icy, unknown waters. This dramatic announcement was intended to wake up the sleeping giant, but it instead sent a wave of panic through the workforce and shattered consumer confidence in their existing products. This realization led him to make the fateful decision to reject Google's emerging Android operating system, fearing that Nokia would lose its unique identity in a sea of generic competitors. This choice led to an exclusive partnership with Microsoft to run the Windows Phone operating system on all future Lumia devices. The decision to adopt this platform backfired completely because software developers simply refused to support a distant third-place competitor. Popular social media applications and video sharing platforms chose not to build software for this ecosystem, which meant that consumers refused to purchase the devices. Without access to their favorite daily applications, buyers walked away from the beautifully designed Lumia hardware, leaving retail store shelves packed with piles of unsold inventory. The disastrous alliance drained billions of dollars in cash, forcing the board to contemplate the final surrender of their long-standing consumer legacy. On September 3, 2013, the company capitulated, agreeing to sell its entire mobile device business to Microsoft for $7.2 billion. This sum represented a tiny fraction of the company's historical peak valuation of over $250 billion at the turn of the millennium. The brand that once connected more than 1 billion individuals across the globe surrendered its crown, leaving its native country of Finland in a state of deep economic mourning. Within months, the physical metal letters of the company logo were unscrewed from the Espoo headquarters, replaced by the modern emblem of their corporate buyer. The final chapter of their mobile phone reign was written in red ink, marking one of the most rapid destructions of corporate value in modern business history. This dramatic fall serves as a classic warning about the danger of corporate complacency and the illusion of security. The business failed not because they lacked money or skilled engineers, but because they fundamentally misunderstood the shifting nature of the industry they had helped build. They believed they occupied the physical device business when they actually competed in the software ecosystem business, a lesson that arrived far too late to save them. Their physical phones were durable, but their digital systems stood completely obsolete, proving that mechanical excellence cannot rescue outdated software in a rapid technological shift. This failure illustrates how quickly past victories can turn into a corporate death trap when executives rely on historical achievements rather than future adaptation. The final lesson of this collapse is that organizational psychological safety constitutes no luxury, but a survival requirement. When employees feel too threatened to report failures, leaders make decisions based on comfortable lies rather than harsh realities. Today, the Finnish company survives as a consistently profitable developer of telecommunications infrastructure and advanced 5G networks. but their storied consumer brand remains frozen in time. Their story stands as a permanent reminder to every modern corporation that the price of failing to adapt is total extinction. If we look at the quiet, modern boardrooms in Espoo today, we find no consumer devices on display, only a silent reminder that in technology, no empire is permanent.